So why am I still rummaging around
we got a good thing going. Why rummage?
I think that for me, it goes back to having a bit of almost like a guilty conscience about something. I'd put it this way. I know for myself, and you and I have talked about this in different contexts. I know for myself, and I mentioned that my parents were divorced when I was 5 years old. I know that my initial attraction to Orthodox Judaism was very, very driven by exposure to Orthodox Jewish family life. I did not have that growing up, anything like that growing up, and it rings a very, very deep bell. So the reason why I flag this is because I always wondered, well, is the reason I became Orthodox just because I'm attracted to the lifestyle, and therefore I'm willing to sort of, gloss over all the tough questions? There is a famous argument within Orthodox Judaism. I think the main modern person who says it is Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman. Basically, it's, why aren't people Orthodox? He makes this argument that people are not Orthodox because it's easier to live a non-Orthodox life. You don't have to keep kosher, you can marry who you want, you can do what you want, you don't have to get up for, prayer services during the week, so on and so on.
That's the part that always... A lot of Orthodox Jews don't wake up for prayer services, but yes, that's a famous argument that the reason it's because they're not disciplined enough, but it's obviously true.
But more than that, I wouldn't even say the way he says that, not that they're not disciplined enough, he puts it basically, it's like they are bribed, they are bought off by the ease of life that a non-Orthodox life presents. So really, if they were intellectually straight about it, they would come to the conclusion of Orthodox Judaism. But because they're bought off and bribed,
Correct.
They're straight intelligence is sort of detoured by the desires of the body, the desire for a more comfortable life, so they rationalize why not to be Orthodox. So that argument, put it like this, I'm not saying Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman is wrong. What I'm saying
But does it resonate with you, that argument?
Well, I'm saying the problem for that argument for me is that I knew deep down I had a counterclaim to it. I had a lot of bribe. Maybe my intellect was being bent the other way. Maybe I romanticized Orthodoxy because I wanted to. Because I wanted to get in on this great lifestyle that appealed to me based on how I grew up. And what if someone comes to me and says, Jeff, look, I get it. You grew up, your parents were divorced, you met Orthodox Jews, they were compelling, you saw family life, you saw Shabbos, it was really nice, you wanted in. I grew up very differently. I grew up in circumstances that led me to very opposite conclusions of yours. And therefore, I don't romanticize Orthodoxy in the least bit. In fact, I, don't like it. And I am going to slam the door on the way out as I leave it. So I always wondered, how does one adjudicate between these sort of claims? It's clear that there's some connection between our autobiographies and how we see the world. How far does that go? The bigger question for me was really, how to put it, that I knew at a certain level that I had certain attractions to Orthodoxy that were not rational, and I wanted to... I didn't want to fool myself. I wanted to really push hard on myself and demand of myself that I was trying to make as honest an assessment of why I was doing what I was doing as I could. And even after becoming Orthodox, so you'd say, good, so go to yeshiva, spend a year hashing this out, and then make a decision and get on with your life. That's kind of also implied in your question. And I think that, yes and no. Life demands decisions of you, right? You're in your 20s. You have decisions. Well, what lifestyle you're going to live, how you're going to work, who you're going to marry.
Sure.
You don't get to wait around till you're 50 with perfect knowledge of 25 years.
To figure everything out and then
I'm going to get in a time machine and I'll go back to 22 and decide how to live. You have to pull the trigger. So I felt that I certainly had enough to pull the trigger and believe in what I was doing. But these things stay they don't go away. It's like a stone in my shoe. It's still there at some level. This thought. I don't think I ever worked this out to such an extent that it just disappeared. I think people are more complex than these kind of binary faith. Now I'm Orthodox. Yeah, now I'm Orthodox with a whole lifetime of minivans full of baggage coming with me, intellectual, emotional, and part of it was this question, which when I got to yeshiva, I talked about it with people, with some of the people who are in the book, some of the people who are not in the book, and it always it didn't go away.